And if people know you're trying to be a better person, um, that's going to help of your acceptance. And I think that's the biggest thing I can tell other people is because it surprised me um, how much people reacted to me as a person, and the positive reactions to me as a person were not totally gender free, but it meant that gender was less important or less of a. One of the arguments I had with this woman astronomer in the West Coast was how important is gender? And this was an issue I've had with a lot of second wave feminists, like my two exes and my sisters. And it's a tricky thing to deal with. And I think that's the biggest thing about being transgender is you have to deal with how important is gender really, and if you should be able to do anything no matter what gender you are, which is the argument that I would make. What gender is not something that should keep you from doing anything. But when you see somebody, gender is part of how you react to that person. And that doesn't seem like it's going to change real soon.
Mm-hmm.
And there are good things about it. It's not all bad that you react to somebody's gender. I mean, the trick is to react to it in a positive way and not pigeonhole them, not say they can't do this, they can't do that. But nonetheless, gender is important. And I think being able to accept that and being able to argue that is in a fairly convincing way. Not that I've ever convinced a lot of people, everybody that I've talked about it with, but I've convinced some. That's what I would say. Like, be convinced and be convincing.
Okay.
Anything else?
Right. No, I'm all out of questions for now.
That was great. Thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, I just would like to add here that I read about your research when I was a child, actually, when I was 6. And it was the first book on astronomy that I had, and it mentioned the rings of Uranus.
Uh-huh.
It was it only had a drawing because the Voyager 2 had not gotten there yet. It was a book from 1981. But I remember it quite well. The drawing there of Uranus with the ring draw around it, and it did caught my imagination back then.
I'm glad. I've thought about it a lot recently because of the discoveries in the cosmic wave background over the last month. Yeah, because it sort of was centered here, and what it's like to be involved in discoveries like that. I went to a physics colloquium 2 weeks ago where there was like a theory and experimental explanation of it by Alan Guth and John Kovac talking about it. And it turned out all these people I was sitting in audience with were from the CFA. I knew that, but the people in my row were all his team. And it was just cool to think about that 37 years ago now, I was involved in something like this that was a big discovery. We weren't going to win a Nobel Prize or anything. It got Jim Elliott a tenured professorship at MIT, which is not nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And my first paper was a Nature paper, which is cool. And that was like a job. The way I got that job, so one of the other funny things about being transitioning and having a past is what I've done is degendered my past. So you may have noticed how I talk about things like people in my life and my past. I tend to say spouses and other things like that, significant others maybe, but I don't. So I don't drop stuff from my past, but I sort of degender it, and it's been a good way for me to accept things. And I haven't totally figured out how to talk about who I was in the past, and that's sort of challenging sometimes, so like around the discovered rings. So my latest fun thing is to just tell people to do a man X term if they want to find out what my name used to be. It's going to be obvious.
That's awesome.
So that's a way of accepting it.
Mhm.
And I think to sort of accept it, but laugh at it. Not laugh at it exactly, but just not take it too seriously. And say, you know, I'm lucky I've got a past that's interesting. And my present and future are going to be interesting too. So,
For sure. So, all right, Jessica. Yeah.
have fun
Thank
editing.
you a lot for the interview.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed it with you guys. Thank you very much. If you have any more questions, feel free. I'm happy to answer. Pretty much, I haven't had any questions I wouldn't try to answer.
Mhm.
So I've thought about a lot of stuff pretty seriously. So we'll go from there.
All right.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much.
Sure. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Right. So, thank. Stefano, you're there?
Yes, I'm still here.
I'm off somehow.